Hey, what's going on, family? Again, it's me, your favorite Uncle Cousin Tyrone Gregory here. Truly excited to be here at this moment to be able to bring you this video. And it is my first ever live Q&A call, man. And really want to give a special thank you, a special shout out to Miss Starks, Miss Jessica Starks, who sent me an email asking a question about taxes and multiple business structures and umbrella type corporations and subsidiaries. And I decided that would be too much to actually email or reply to. So I asked her, I said, would she be willing to come let me record her and we'll have this discussion live? And she said, yeah. And it turned out to be an excellent conversation that I recorded and that I'm going to actually share here with you. So again, man, it being my first, I was super excited to do this live Q&A, to really have somebody ask me questions and me answer it one-on-one. I wanted to share with you guys, as again, we were talking about structuring multiple business structures and how that affects you in taxes. And I thought the information you may want to hear, so I'm putting it out there. It's our first time, forgive the quality of the videos. I'll do our best to actually make it sound good. But look, here it is. Enjoy the video. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me. Shoot me an email. I'll make sure I put all the information in the description below. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe. This is the kind of things that get done here at the Self-Employed Tax Guys YouTube channel. You never know. You'll shoot me an email. Next thing you know, you'll end up on YouTube with me. So go ahead, check out the video. Looking forward to hearing your comments, questions. If you have anything, if you want to send Jessica a shout out, make sure to show her some love, as this is probably her first time doing anything like this. So without any further delay, here's the video. Check it out and enjoy. All right, I'm ready. So good afternoon to you.
Afternoon. I'm excited.
Are you? I am too. This is the first time I've ever really done a live Q&A where, I don't know what questions I'm going to be asked. So I'm like, am I going to look like a fool? Or, she going to hit me with something I don't know? Or, usually I've always done my research and I'm prepared. But, to do it live is something different.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I won't trip you up.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not, man. So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day out here in California. I really can't complain. How's everything down there in Mississippi?
Oh, it's cold, but we making it.
Okay. Well, at least you making it. Man. How's the business environment down there in Mississippi? You hear a lot about development and Silicon Valley and all these other places in Texas and everybody coming up. What's it like as a business down there in Mississippi?
Well, it's definitely not a Silicon Valley or anything like that. The town that I live in, it's a huge kind of an industry town.
Okay. So
you're kind of into, things like that, like the factories or cars, things like that. It's really booming here. But my particular type of business, as far as, working in the kind of in marketing and tech and things like that, not a whole lot, but I feel like it's kind of working its way up. So we're trying to catch up a little bit, but, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you're into marketing.
Yeah, I do like a lot of marketing and web design. Those are kind of my main things.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, cool. So, go ahead and hit me with your question. Let me just make sure I understand. So, again, you reached out to me and I really appreciate that. You watching the videos and things like that, and you reached out to me. You wanted to talk about multiple business structures, which is really what led to this here. And again, I'm super excited because I've never done nothing like this. So let's go ahead. I'm ready for you. Just go on and hit me with what you got, and I'm going to see if we can hopefully help a few people out, because this is not the first time I've actually been asked a question, but I like the way that you had phrased yours and just gave me the idea, like, man, let's talk about it, because it's when it comes to multiple business structures, you really just can't email that back and forth. You have to have a conversation. So, yes, hit me with what you got. So they say, hit me with your best shot.
Okay. So, like saying, I have kind of my marketing, kind of that business already.
Okay.
And I've been working on kind of like a membership kind of business that would be more so like a promotional company. And so I spoke with somebody, like he was kind of like a business counselor.
Okay.
And he was talking about like the LLCs and things like that. And I had seen your video where you were talking about, whether or not you need an LLC. And I was trying to, do my own research.
That's good. That's good. Actually, that's good. Yeah.
And when I talked to him, he was saying that maybe I could put them kind of together since they would be, I guess, kind of a similar industry. But I'm just kind of trying to understand what would be the easiest way for me to, I guess, keep them together, but they would be separate brands. And then what would kind of be the easiest structure for me to do in case I decide to start like a third business or something like that. And that way, like, because they always talk about, if you get sued or something like that. Mm. So what would be kind of the safest structure for me to be able to grow and stay protected?
Okay. First of all, the excellent question there. Now you say put them together. Maybe I didn't hear it in the first time, but what are them? So what two businesses are you talking about?
So the marketing business, okay, that one's called JD Scribes, and then the membership kind of promotional business is called Bond. And so he was saying, since they were kind of similar as far as the promotional and marketing kind of thing, that maybe I would turn JD Scribes into an LLC and put Bond under it, or make an umbrella company and put them both under the umbrella.
Okay. Well, definitely, I don't know, you didn't mention his name, but whoever he is sounds like, he definitely know what he's talking about. So, multiple structures. Now, that right there, I would like to say, is definitely an advanced strategy. And I like to say, when you have an umbrella corporation and you have multiple subsidiaries or like that parent-child relationship type companies, it can get rather involved. So is it good? Yes. If you really want to separate things out, it is the absolute best structure there is to actually do that. Because what you're doing in essence, like even if you wanted to have an actual, what they call a holding company, and a holding company is the main corporation or the umbrella corporation, and it holds, as the name implies, holding company, it holds all of the assets. Right. It holds like all the real estate. It holds all of the capital. It holds everything. And any company that comes under it could then, because it's separate, could then borrow the assets from the holding company. Kind of see what I'm saying? So the idea of the holding company is to have the holding company, again, as the name implies, just hold all the assets. It does no transactions with nobody else except for the businesses that are under it, because what it does, if something happens to one of the businesses, if properly structured, if any prosecutors or creditors try to come after that business, it can shut down and the assets will not be touched because it's held in the holding company. So it's the idea of what are you really trying to do? Because when you have multiple companies, there is so many strategies that you can get into. First of all, is it just you or do you have a partner?
It's just me.
Just you? So by it being you can do whatever you want to do with it. And if you ever consider bringing on partners later, the good thing about having multiple corporations is you can bring on a partner, say, in your membership site and not have it affect what's going on your marketing site because it's completely separate. So, you know, it just depends on what it is you're trying to do. If you're trying to save money, that may not work because having those multiple structures cost. You know, it definitely does solve a huge problem in separation. It solves a huge problem when it comes to asset protection, but it does create some minor inconveniences, meaning that each company is going to have its own checking account, banking account that you're going to have to monitor. Is going to have its own separate set of books that you're going to have to monitor. It's going to have its own liabilities as far as capital that you may have to monitor. And even in the great state of Mississippi, if they have fees for LLCs, then each one is going to have its own separate fee that you're going to end up having to pay to the state. You know, so again, it solves some great problems, but then it's like, financially, is it worth it?
Right.
And that's the question I would go with. Because also, yeah, you can. I mean, how different are your marketing business model versus your membership business model? Like, is your membership going to be like tied with the marketing? Like if somebody joins your membership or they become part of your customer base, are they going to get like monthly insider information? Are you going to be like, what is the membership, I guess I can say?
Well, yeah, it is kind of like that where they'll get access to like certain exclusive information or content or events and classes and things like that.
Okay.
Or they'll get kind of promotional advertising opportunities. So that's where I was kind of like, well, maybe they are a little similar, you know, because you kind of get sort of like a marketing boost off of it. And then you get listed in your directories and things like that. So those are kind of the main things with the membership part. And then the marketing is just kind of your services like, you know, the websites or the social media marketing, content writing, those kind of things.
Okay. I can kind of see that now. Trying to think here. So why are you looking, let's see, so outside of asset protection or outside of trying to be sued, is there another reason why you think LLC would be good for you?
Well, initially, and that was before I watched your video.
Sorry.
A lot of people talked about, you know, the protections and things, and you're completely protected and all that stuff. Like I said, then I watched your video and I understood, you know, exactly, you know, like it does say limited for a reason, you know. So that's where I was kind of like, you know, because when I first started JD Scribes, you know, I was told like you can kind of keep things as a sole proprietorship and just get a DBA. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, maybe I could just get behind a DBA. But I was like, that's still, you know, a smart move being that it's not an LLC. So it was just a lot that I was confused about.
Okay, no worries, man. Well, again, you reached out to me and I appreciate that. You watched the video. You actually watched the video and paid attention, you know, thank you. But that's the deal, you know, when it comes to LLC, like say a lot of people have them, you know, especially in my personal experience. I would say close to 80% of the people I know who have LLCs don't need them. And the reason I say that is because when you're setting up an LLC, it's more than just the name. You know, you have the LLC at the end of your name. No, there's an actual process that needs to be done. There's actual standards and law that need to be now taken into consideration when you have an LLC, and if those laws, those considerations, those standards are not kept, when a prosecutor comes and says, okay, this person or this LLC is a front for the owner, they're just running things through it in order to not have their personal assets taken care of, and then they're going to go through like a list of things that the LLC is supposed to be and compare to how you're operating it. And if it's not a match, then they're going to be like, okay, the LLC is fake. We still can come after you. So that's what we call or piercing the corporate veil, because they can easily go through the business and get to your personal assets if it's not established correctly. Which is probably the next video I'm working on too, is like how to actually establish the LLC correctly to prevent all that. But so getting back to the point is like, if you can do it, an LLC is fine if you can maintain it, but is it worth the maintenance? You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people get an LLC and they just leave it there. Like, I just have an LLC and that's that. Well, that's fine. But remember, LLCs are just state level entities. They only recognize at the state. So the next logical thing would be to have your LLC taxed as an S corp, because that right there truly is the separation of individual and business. But then once you go into S corp status, now you have a whole new set of rules and obligations that you have to be liable for. And the biggest one is payroll. A lot of, as an S corp, you have to, as a officer of the corporation, pay yourself a wage. Which now means that you have to have payroll and payroll taxes, and you have to process payroll and pull in additional forms, not only on a federal level, but at the state level. So it just increases that responsibility. And I say, if you're able to handle that, if you're a very organized individual, yeah, go for it. And also, I'm sorry.
I said, well, I'm not organized, so that would be a challenge.
Everybody said they're not organized. I just believe when it comes to organization, as a side note, because I've talked to a few people and they like, well, how do you organize these expenses and what to do? And I'm like, it's really just coming up with a system. Because once a system is in place, it's easy. It just like becomes your daily routine. When you wake up in the morning, you go wash your face and brush your teeth, get dressed, shower, you're good to go. And once you have that system in place, you just do it, so trust me, if I can turn this camera around, well, that's why I got the gray backdrop right there, so you won't see the madness that's going on in this little room of mine. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry about disorganization, because we ain't gonna look around my room right now. But yeah, so once you have a system in place, you are definitely good to go.
So, and even in the whole LLC thing, because I think you did a video, I didn't get to see that one though, but like I've heard people talk about either doing the LLC or having like business insurance. Is there a difference, or?
I wouldn't say yes, there is a difference. An LLC is completely different type of protection than business insurance. But as a sole proprietor, if you're trying to avoid the whole LLC and getting that and having to deal with that administratively, the next best thing would be to get some good business insurance, because business insurance will then offer that same level of protection, which means that if something happened and somebody came after you, which would result in some sort of financial situation, the business insurance would actually cover that. So it works in the same instance, so to speak. So I always suggest get your sole proprietorship and good business insurance first. Then as business grows, as you start to take in more, you start reaching a point where your company
is more risk of being litigated, which means, we know how the song go, Puffy and Mace had more money, more problems, right? That's exactly how it is. So when you get to the point where you have more money, more problems, now it may be time to look into an actual corporate structure, separate the assets out. You take what's yours, give the company what's is, and work it out.
Okay. So do you think that kind of arrangement works better if the businesses are similar? Or like if there was a case where, I'm trying to think, like if I have the marketing company and say like I want to open a store or something, would I need to do something separate since they're kind of in two completely opposite industries, or does it doesn't matter?
As far as corporate structure wise, as far as having multiple structures, the only thing you need to do separately would be to establish a new company. See, in your situation, I read a book and I like the way the book title is. It's the way the income flows, I guess. And the way the income flows to you would be income, right? So you got people paying you. It would go through to your LLCs, your single member LLCs, right? And then from the single member LLCs, they would then flow through to the corporation, which would be the holding company. And then from the holding company is where you would receive your payment. You would not receive payment from any of the LLCs at the lower level. You would only get it from the holding company. And that right there would be, in my opinion, the best structure for you because it's just you. And you can manage each one of them multiple or the single member LLCs. Because remember, well, I mean, not remember, let me say, go back a little bit. Corporations or S Corps can own other corporations the same as you and I do. Because by legal definition, they are completely separate entities, but they are entities just like we are. So they can own businesses in the same way that we can. So if your S Corp owns another LLC, that LLC is a disregarded entity to the S Corp. So remember, single member LLCs are the same as sole proprietors. It flows through to the owner's return. And if that LLC is owned by the S Corp, the income is going to flow through to the S Corp return. So there is no multiple tax returns you'll be doing, no matter how many LLCs you have. Because everything is going to flow through just to that one holding company or that one umbrella corporation. So like when you're a single member, when it's just you, that's probably the best strategy because everything flows to that one. You'll file one tax return for the company, no matter how many LLCs you operate, and it's just easier to manage. But again, it creates those minor inconveniences because now each one of those LLCs has their own bank account. They have their own set of books. They have their own set of state fees that you have to manage each one individually. So there are some things that's held at the holding company level, and then there are some things that has to be done at the each individual LLC level. But in that strategy, that is a beautiful strategy. And the great thing about it is you don't have to do it all at once. You can do it as you grow. So you want to start off with a holding company and then have that one LLC under it, you can do that. And then when you say, okay, it's time for me to expand into new markets or into different markets, but I want to separate it just in case, at that point, start the second LLC, and then go on and go on and go on until you're satisfied. I mean, think about some of the greatest companies we have, like Johnson & Johnson. We all use their products. Well, Johnson & Johnson is just a holding company. All of their other separate products, those are separate actual entities under that holding company. Like I was reading about, I forget which one makes Tide the detergent, but Tide itself, the holding company owns the brand name. somebody else. They have another subsidiary company that actually mixes the chemicals and boxes and things like that. So if something happened with the laundry detergent where they get sued, well, guess what? They can shut down that manufacturing plant that's producing the actual laundry detergent, and nothing will happen to the brand name Tide because it's owned by the holding company. So they can shut them down, go on about the business, and then redo something else using the same name because the brand name itself didn't get sued. The company that made the actual product did. That's why, we see it a lot of times in corporate America when people get sued, companies happening all these great lawsuits where they shut it down, but then they still thriving because they did a good job of separating their assets. So it's a beautiful strategy. It just takes a lot. As long as you're ready for it, you're good to go.
Okay. So now, okay, I have, they described as just a sole proprietorship. You get your EIN and all that stuff. So when you do the umbrella company, does that cancel out that EIN, or can you keep the same one?
Yeah, the thing about what an EIN is, let me back up, because yes, whenever you start a new business structure, let me start there, you do have to get a new tax ID number for that business structure. Okay. And technically, the EIN number, that stands for employer identification number. So if you don't have employees or you don't plan on having employees, you technically don't need an EIN number unless you actually getting a corporation. So as a sole proprietor, you don't need an EIN. It's good to have one because you can open up a separate bank account for it, but you don't necessarily need it. But whenever you do get structures and things like that, then yes.
Okay.
And let me back up again, because I want to say, in the example that I gave you, when the income flows up to that one tax ID number, if you wanted to, you can just use the EIN number of the umbrella company. You could. That is an option. So you don't have to when you do like an umbrella company and you open up businesses under it. You can use that same EIN because it's going to be the same one that's reported. Because remember, those ones under it, as long as they're LLCs, single member LLCs, they're not going to report on any kind of tax return, or the income is going to flow through to the S corp. So you really only need that one tax ID number. You can get multiple tax ID numbers for the LLCs for purposes of them having their own books, but it's not necessary.
Okay. Okay, and then, so, because you said the holding company would be the S corp. So what's the difference? What's the deal with the S corp? Like, what does the S stand for?
The S stands for super. No, just playing. Because S corps are just like they're like wonderful, The S corp was, because a lot of people like the C corp was the original, right? That was like the big bad boy back in the day, the C corp. But then you had people who wanted the protections of a C corp and wanted be able to use the advantages of a C corp, but not really have all of those restraints as a C corp. So then they're the S corp, which kind of is the same as a C corp, but it has less limitations, a lot easier to manage. Like S corps can only have 100 shareholders, and meaning that you can only have 100 people who own it, versus a C corporation, unlimited people, however many shares of stocks they put out, that's how many people can own it. So there's a lot of little mini things that S corps don't do. But the difference between LLC and S corp, one is the federal recognition. As an S corp, you are officially recognized by the IRS. You're no longer just a sole proprietor. So that's the step up on as far as federal goes. The biggest thing from an S corp and a single member LLC is the self-employment tax. Because as an S corp, you don't pay self-employment tax. Well, let me back up here. You don't pay it 100%. I'll say that. Because as an S corp, you get any distributions from an S corp is going to be going on your personal return as a K1. And K1s, when you add income from a K1, it's not considered self-employment tax, and therefore, so it is not considered self-employment income, and therefore not subject to self-employment tax. However, remember what the self-employed tax is. It's simply your share of Social Security and Medicare. So as an S corp, remember I said you're supposed to put yourself on payroll. Well, as a W-2 employee of the actual S corp, you're still going to pay Social Security and Medicare. You just pay it in the form of wages. Gotcha. So that amount is still paid, but the great thing is when you have an S corp, the wages that you pay yourself, you deduct as an expense from the S corp. So therefore, it reduces the amount that's going to go on your K1, which reduces the amount that you'll pay regular income tax on. And then, because you are separating yourself from the business, when you pay yourself a W-2 out of the S corp, you'll get to write off half of the payroll taxes that you pay as a business expense. So it changes the color of money. Because as a regular sole proprietor, you are responsible 100% for all of that. But as an S corp, you get to deduct that. Okay. And that's where the biggest thing, a lot of people say, it's time to move to an S corp, because it saves a lot of money when it comes to the self-employment tax.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that, because everybody kind of just skips over the S corp, like they just go straight to C. I'm like,
I don't know. I think, like, to me, C corp are reserved for the big conglomerates, like the Walmarts, things where they really got big things going on, where they like multinational world. Yeah, if you're getting to that level, then C corp is what you need to do. But for us small fries, for us little people, S corp is a beautiful thing.
Okay. So, and then let's see. The other thing that they told me about was like the sales tax and everything. Do you know anything about that? Because that was the first time I had heard anything about that.
Yeah, that's one of them little sneaky taxes that creep up on the self-employed. Sales tax, use tax. A lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah. So is it required for all businesses? Like even service-based ones, or?
When it comes to sales tax, one, it depends on a couple of things. Do you sell physical products?
Okay.
If you sell physical products, then depending on your locality, your district, your state, do they charge sales tax on the thing that you are selling? And if so, then yes, you are going to be responsible for the sales tax on that. And the sales tax is, we do it so much, we probably don't even pay attention to it. But, when you go to the store and you pay it and it comes up to whatever, and you look at the bottom, there's a separate, said the tax was this amount. Well, that's all sales tax is. What makes it difficult for us is tracking it. If you sell physical products where you have to charge sales tax, you are going to pay it either way. Meaning that, say, for example, like here in California, I'm just giving a round number. look, if I sell an item for $100 and the sales tax is 10%, I should charge the person that's buying it $110. And that $10 I'm going to remit to my sales tax to the government here, because that I collected it on their behalf and I pay it to them. My profit is $100, right? Now, if I don't collect the sales tax from the customer, I still owe 10%. So of my $100, I'm going to have to give the government $10, which now drops my profit down to $90.
Okay.
You know, so that's why I say in either case, if you're responsible for sales tax, you're going to have to pay it. So make sure to understand you would need that. But in marketing and then having a membership website, I don't believe that that's a physical product that you're going to sell. Now, I heard you mention it, like if you want to open up a store later and you actually have physical goods, then yeah, at that point you may get involved in sales tax.
Okay. So would you have to do it if you like if you had an event and you sold tickets, would that you have to have sales tax?
Sales tax, and again, I'm only speaking from what I've known here in Southern California. Sales tax is really food, things that you have in inventory, physical products, retail type products, and that's it. Like tickets to an event, no. I mean, yes, even though that is a sale, but it's not something that you do in retail or with food for consumption. So no, that you wouldn't have to charge tax on that.
Okay, gotcha. Let's see.
That is, of course, unless Mississippi has a event sales tax fee or something like that, definitely I would look into what the sales tax is in Mississippi. Like what do they consider an item that needs to be taxed? But most of the time, 90% of the time, even from a general perspective of my research, is normally on retail goods and food for consumption.
Okay. Let's see. Trying to think, because you kind of like some of the questions I had you answered without me asking.
Well, that's a good thing. Hey, as long as the questions get answered, I am good to go. As long as we answer the questions.
Okay, well, I'll just recap because I think you answered everything I had.
All right, we good. Recap time.
So you were saying for my particular situation, the best option would to have the holding company as the S corp with the single member LLCs, and I can go just kind of at my own pace whenever I'm ready to start. Like whenever they feel like they've grown enough that just put it underneath it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And EIN isn't necessary, and sales tax isn't necessary. And so if I do that, do I still need to look into getting business insurance too?
Yeah, I mean, business insurance is always good anyway, just because it adds that extra layer of protection. Now, one of the type of things that we worry about as business owners is, of course, losing our assets. So when you incorporate, when you become an LLC and you start to purchase things under that LLC, that asset belongs to the LLC. It does not belong to you as an individual. Yes, you're going to use it as the business owner, but that asset by law belongs to that LLC. So even as an LLC, having insurance to protect the asset of that LLC is a good thing. But again, don't go out buying the largest insurance that you can buy if your business does not require it. A lot of the things that, like in the video when I mentioned the liabilities that we worry about is contractual liability, civil liability, and then tort liability. If you are not really nowhere in the range of dealing with either one of them three, I would just get like the most basic business insurance out there for now. Right? Because one of the things, well, I guess what you would come into, or one of the things that you can risk facing is contractual liability. You have a marketing company, somebody signs a contract with you to do a certain bid for them, and then that fails to go through from whatever reason. So you can be come after on that point. But again, you know, that's to me small scale, because that's he say, she say. Well, I'm pretty sure you're not the kind of person that be like, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z for $1 million, and then you only do X and take the $1 million and go on vacation, you know, so you wouldn't have to worry about that, right? You don't seem like that kind of person. But if you're doing the best you can, like I said, I would get very minimum. As you grow, then that's when other things grow in your business. It's like, you know, look at us as humans. You know, when we come out as infants, we don't immediately jump into, you know, the jeans that we wear now. We started off in diapers, right? And then as we grew, our clothes did too. The things that we needed, the things that we acquired grew with us. And that's, to me, the same thing we do as business. But I know a lot of us, we get big-eyed and get excited, and, you know, saying, oh, I got a business, so I need the best, the biggest of everything. Yeah. And we end up doing that, and we shortchange our business. We have no capital to support it. And now the businesses fail. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm going to raise my right hand because I have done that. Right. I was like, oh, look at me. I am a CEO. I got a business. I'm about to go out here and buy the biggest and baddest of everything. And when it spent all this money, it had no money for the business. So it was like, yeah, that sucks, but it happens, you know. So definitely start off as small as you can, just enough to keep you protected, just enough so you can still operate and scale your business, because that ultimately, of everything that we talked about, these multiple corporate structures and LLCs, all of that doesn't matter if you cannot scale your business, if you cannot grow your business. You like, what's the point? You can have 50 LLCs, but if none of them is making money, if none of them is growing, what's the point?
Right.
You know
That's
what I'm saying?
True.
Yeah. So the idea is at the bare minimum, do the bare minimum, do what you need to do to get your business off the ground. And as it grows, so will your assets, so will your insurance writers, so will all of everything that you do, it will grow with you.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have. I feel like you answered everything that was going through my head.
Well, I'm glad. I don't feel so nervous now. I feel relieved. Like, okay, good. I'm all right.
But yeah, that helped a lot, because sometimes when you ask, people are really vague, and I'm like, I already don't know this stuff, so why would you talk to me? I'm supposed to know, So, but that broke it down really simply. So, thank you.
That's what I'm here to help, and I'm only, and that's how I ended up in this situation. People was extremely vague with me. And so I just assumed a lot of things. I jumped, like I said, a lot of things that I talk about on the videos is from my own personal experience, things that I've went through. Like, I've had multiple corporation structures, C Corps, S Corp, LLCs, partnerships, just because nobody told me nothing. Like, I'm thinking it's the thing to do, and then all of a sudden, now I'm broke. Business ain't made no money. The state is coming after me. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn a lot of things the hard way, and that's why I really want to get it out there. I really want people to just please learn from my mistakes. There's so many other ways to do it, but I guess people are vague because if they tell you everything, then you won't need them.
I guess.
Maybe, yeah. That's just my assumption. I don't know. But I'm the uncle cousin. You gonna always need me.
Right.
So I tell you everything.
That's what we needed. I know I sure did because I didn't know. You try to call around and it's just because nobody breaks it down simply, like you were saying, like talking about how you grow up and you need stuff. Nobody ever explained it that way. It's like, if that makes sense, just tell me that way.
Well, I'm glad I can offer that definitely piece of wisdom because that's from personal. Yeah, my corporation was an infant. I went out and bought them a whole wardrobe, and for an adult, and it just sat there. Nobody used it. It was just pointless. So yeah.
But yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad we got some things accomplished. So yeah.
Yeah, we did. We got a lot accomplished.
Good. So what's going to be your next steps, or what are you going to do now? Now it's my turn to ask the questions.
Well, I want to still take the remainder of the year because the other business that I started, I just kind of been doing it on a trial basis just to see, if it's actually going to work out. Okay. So I'm going to finish out the year and see if I feel pretty good about it. And because it's progressed quicker than I anticipated for it to. Okay. So that's why I was like, I knew I had to start figuring out what my options were because I didn't expect to be this ahead this early. And
that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. It's just, I guess I just didn't know how it was going to turn out, but it did. It did a lot better than I thought. So I'm going to start looking into, the S corps and what all the costs are associated with getting all of that stuff put together, and looking into my options as far as the business and insurance, just to see how much that is and what's covered and all of that stuff. So I think those will be my next moves, and then I'll probably get started actually putting the holding company and all of that together. But yeah, it'll be mostly like a research kind of stuff.
Always. I mean, don't ever be afraid to play with the numbers. Definitely smart move. Do your research first. Always understand the numbers. When you're making moves like that, know, hey, how much is this going to cost me versus how much is this going to save me, right? And once you know that comparison, to say like, it'll save me more than it'll cost me, then you good. Right? Yeah. And saving is not just necessarily financial. Saving is also psychological. Like, is this going to cost me my peace of mind more than it's going to give me peace of mind? That's also true. Make that analysis because, I went a little crazy sometimes. I'm just saying. So definitely keep that in mind as well. But do the research, make sure that the numbers make sense. And if the numbers make sense, if the peace of mind makes sense, then go for it.
Okay. I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah. And always, if you got some questions, let me know. Run them numbers. We can run them numbers together and see what it's like. One of the things definitely to keep in mind is how much it's going to cost you to upkeep it. Like whether you're going to do it yourself or you're going to hire somebody. Definitely keep that in mind as well. So you can add that to the cost and see, does it make sense?
Okay. Gosh, that's a good point. Because sometimes you try to do it yourself and it's like, it wasn't even worth all of this.
Exactly.
Okay. I will keep all of that in mind. And yeah, if I have questions, I'll be watching your YouTube channel. Okay. Or Facebook or whatever.
I got some new stuff coming. I'm working on it.
Okay.
All right. Well, man, I'm good. If you good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Well, again, man, I really truly thank you for coming on and doing this. It's the first time. I feel excited. I've never really had somebody on ask me questions and then I respond to them. So definitely, I feel great. I'm glad you did it. And I feel good. As long as I have you good, I'm good. So yeah. And you know, I'm thinking about putting this out there on YouTube too, so you might be famous.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That just makes it even better.
Yeah.